Hi friends, this is Margola, your favorite Brooklyn broker. So I'm going to be starting a live every Tuesday at 2, and I will be spilling the tea on all things real estate related, especially right here in Brooklyn. So any questions you have, any concerns, if you're in the middle of a deal, whether you're hunting for a property, whether you're thinking of selling your property, just shoot me a DM and I'll be more than happy to address it on my next Tuesday at 2 with Spilling the Tea. So for the first show, I will just start with sharing any deals that have happened to me as I try to put out daily content. It's hard to put it in less than a minute. So this is an opportunity where I can chat with you and hear your feedback on a longer format. I'm going to keep it to under 30 minutes and let's see how it goes. All right. So for the first show, we're going to spill the tea on something that I experience very often here in Brooklyn. And that's that properties are always delivered vacant and broom swept. And most of these properties, these are brownstones. I, for the most part, sell century-old brownstones, sometimes even more than 100 years old. And very often, they're not in turnkey condition. And that's cool. Many buyers want a blank canvas. They want to take the property, as long as it has good bones, and put in their own magic and create their own space. So the only conditions the seller has to deliver it is vacant and broom swept. So I'm dealing with a property, and in this particular property, there's a lot of stuff. Not junk, heaven forbid. It's stuff. It's good stuff, quality stuff. As it's an inheritance, some of the children are hesitant about discarding the stuff. That's not junk. It's good stuff, good crystal, good dishes, good furniture, but it's truly sentimental. And they want to hire a storage space to store it, a public storage space, and that's costly. Here in Brooklyn, there's lots of storage units. That's not a problem, but it's costly. So I'm not sure if it's worth it for spending the money on the public storage for stuff that who knows if they'll ever use it. And the interesting thing is that there's part of the siblings are also in alignment with me. They're like, you're right, Margola, we agree with you. Why pay for storage on something you're not going to ever use just to have it? So that's interesting. It's something we're working with. And here, that's a concern. That's something that it's a decision. It's a decision that has to be made. How much is it worth to spend just to store stuff that someone may or may not use? My opinion is take that stuff, give it to families that could use it, or hold a sale, a garage sale. People will take it and people will get good use. But again, it's not my stuff, and to someone that's very valuable, and that's how they're going to have to figure out. Also, on a deal that very often, on a deal, a seller may need some money. They may need to tap into the escrow that is being held for them by their attorney. And what you may ask, well, why would they need money from the escrow? Don't they get the money at closing? Well, yes. Technically, the money is given to the seller at the closing table. But very often, the seller will need to tap into their funds to facilitate getting their property vacant. And in order to do that, the attorney signs some paperwork. The seller can tap into that escrow, and it's fine. And then it's deducted from, it's part of what was an escrow anyway, so it's really no skin off the buyer. The only concern the buyer may have is, well, but Margaret, what if we never close? Well, that doesn't happen. The closings happen, the seller's obligated to close, and if God forbid something happens and they don't close, it's a lien on the property. So everyone is covered, and that's usually something that my sellers like to do, so it assists them in helping get the property ready to close. Another thing is I do for my sellers, all my deals are non-contingent. What does that mean? It means there's no finance contingency. The only contingencies on a deal is that the seller must deliver the property, as I mentioned, vacant, that means no occupants, and broom swept. So as discussed, the property has to be completely, every movable property, every movable piece of property in the house has to be discarded. So the property is delivered completely vacant and broom swept clean. The contingent, those are the end title, clean title. Other than that, I don't allow any contingencies. Why? Because I'm not looking to waste time. I'm not looking to waste my seller's time. When a seller gets their house ready to close, they want to close. It's work on the seller's part. The seller has to very often resituate their tenants and get that house all clean, vacant, not clean. Well, yeah, clean, like vacant, broom swept. And it's not just a lot of physical work, it's also a mental work. Mentally, a seller gets all ready and excited. They're in the state of mind that they're ready to close. They don't want any surprises. They don't want to play games that, the buyer decides at the last minute, well, I didn't get my mortgage, I can't close. So, and that is why I like my deals airtight, no holes, no loopholes. There are no mortgage contingencies. And for the most part, it's fine. The homes, all the property gets appraised for what the value is. And if there's a gap, then the buyer will pay for it. I don't see any questions. So I'll just keep talking for the next 15 minutes and see if, it's all right having a one-way conversation. So the properties I sell here are, like I said, for the most part, they're not in turnkey condition, but I do sell brownstones with very good bones. And that's something, okay. So we spoke about that. And now I can just switch gears and speak about something that also just happened. We spoke about the sellers. Now we can speak about buyers. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you're looking for a property. You finally found your dream home. A word from the wise, word of advice: don't spend your money. Like, don't buy stupid stuff. Because yes, you might, when I mentioned earlier about no mortgage contingency, it doesn't mean you can't get a mortgage. Of course you can get a mortgage. That's fine, but that isn't a deal breaker. Now, you're going to go get a mortgage, no problem. You get approved, the bank says we're great, you're great, we've got you covered, we're going to finance this purchase. That's not a green light for you to say, okay, I'm covered, so now I could go and buy whatever else I want. I want to buy a fancy car, I want to buy fancy furniture for my brand new home. No. Wait until you close. It just happened to me for the second time that a buyer didn't realize or didn't pay attention when I warned them not to, that until the money is released, you still have to maintain your credit until closing day. Yes, you get a pre-approval, the underwriting, you have your underwriting, but until the checks are written, don't spend money on stuff you don't really need, because that could skew your credit. The bank will say 1 minute, a red flag will come up like, hold on, they just bought this extravagant purchase, and I'm talking about purchases that are financed. I'm not talking about cash purchases, of course, but don't go and finance something else while you're still waiting for the bank to finance your home. That could skew your credit, and even if the underwriting approved and everything was fine, if something pops up before closing, they may not be able to close. They won't give you the money, and it will delay the closing if you can still get it. In both cases, the financing did come through, but it delayed the closing by about a month, and it almost didn't happen. But due to the skills of these particular buyers, both of them, they're mortgage brokers, they did some finagling and backflips, and the financing did come through. So that's something to be important. That's something to be aware of. Now, here in Brooklyn, I know that I'm on a mastermind every single morning, 5 days a week, with like-minded rock stars, professionals all over the country. And I'm hearing from most everybody that their markets are a seller's market. There's a plethora of, it's a buyer's market, that there's a plethora of inventory, and there's plenty of inventory, and there's not enough buyers, which is strange, because here in Brooklyn, it's just the opposite. In my 8 years of doing real estate in Brooklyn, I have never come across when I have too much inventory. And that would be like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you have your choice, an option of inventory. It's just not like that. Not here in my neck of the woods in Brooklyn. Here, it's still a seller's market, and it has been for the past 8 years, at least that I'm working in this profession. So that means that the buyers have to get all their ducks lined up, their T's crossed, I's dotted, and ready to roll. When you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, can locate a property and find something that hits all the boxes, you need to grab it. I just had a deal where it was an off-market deal, and it was a great property, a turnkey property actually, and the buyers that I was representing, they said yes, but someone came along right before the deal was executed and offered substantially more to the sellers, and my buyers lost it. So a deal is not sealed until it's fully executed. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, again, another word of advice: when you find that property that you just were dreaming about and you just want, don't negotiate and argue about the price. The price is the price, and if you're not going to pay for it, someone else will. And that's what happened in this case. Someone offered full price. My buyers were not at full price. It was a good offer, but not at full price. And just be prepared when you come to that property, when you're given what the ask is. We're not talking about above ask, we're talking about the ask. Mentally, be prepared to pay the ask. Because, as I said, brownstones here are few and far between, and you don't want to lose it. Another advice that I like to tell my buyers when they're when they're, struggling with, well, should I pay full price? Should I pay above? How nobody wants to overpay. So my advice is to my buyers: offer as much as you can for what it's asked, for the ask. that if you know that someone else is going to get it for $25,000 more, you're fine. Meaning that you gave it your all, you can't do higher, and if you find out that you lost that for $25,000 more, you're good. You knew that you couldn't go another $25,000. And that's how I guide my clients. That's how you have to offer. You find something, you like it, give as much of it to the asking price that you can, and just and then you know that you did your best. You gave it your best shot. And if someone can give more, substantially more, then it's not for you, and it's okay. So to my buyers that lost the deal, that off-market turnkey townhouse, I said to them, as I say to all my buyers, it's all meant to be. No one has to lose any sleep. It wasn't for them. They'll get a much bigger, okay. So I covered some sellers' points, I covered buyers' points, and the only thing I covered the market here. The market is always a seller's market. There's constant demand for homes. My buyers in this section of Brooklyn, they're not particular. If property is not turnkey, it's okay. They'll still take it. Naturally, turnkey properties will command more money, but properties that aren't turnkey, as long as the location is good, they still are being grabbed. So sellers in Brooklyn, know that your property is worth, it's only going up in value. And I tell this to my sellers, if the time isn't right to sell, don't sell. If you need to sell, you sell. Now, can I guarantee that the price is going to go up? And that's the last thing I want to talk about, which I'm often asked. I was actually asked this a few days ago from buyers. Margola, is this the right time to buy? We hear that interest rates are going to perhaps drop. Should we wait for the interest rates to drop? Because interest rates are still in the sixes, mid sixes, and should we wait? And my advice to them, don't wait. The right time to buy is when you have the means to purchase a property. When you have the means, you get it all, make sure that you're good with your mortgage broker, find out what your budget is, how much you could shop for, and then go on the hunt for that perfect property. You don't have to jump at the first house if it doesn't fit you, if it doesn't fit your needs. But don't sit back and feel, well, I have plenty of options. I'm not going to, let me wait and see if I find something better. Better isn't going to happen. You find something that you like, you buy it. If it's a property that you love, but like happened in the previous case with my buyers, they couldn't match the offer from someone else, then that's not for you. That's not in your budget. Once you know and you've defined how much you can spend, what you can afford to purchase on a property, then you know you're looking for something, you know what you can afford, and if you find something in that budget, in that price point, don't wait thinking, well, maybe I'll find something cheaper, better. Usually it doesn't happen. In 8 years of doing this, I have never seen a buyer turn away a property, turn away an option, an opportunity, and then find something even better. Usually it doesn't happen. Properties, the prices aren't stable. The prices do go up. So if you feel that there's something, don't wait till, if you find something in your price point, grab it. Even if the interest rates drop, you can always refinance. That's something, you always have that option. You can't You know, they say you marry the house and date the rate. Once you get and secure that property, you can always refinance, but you can't always find that particular property. And that is my advice. Grab the property that you could afford, because no one wants to be house poor. Make sure this is well within your means. And then, if rates do drop, that's fine. That's beautiful. Go refinance. I hope I've been of value. We've covered sellers' points. We've covered buyers' points. And if anyone has any specific concerns that they would like me to discuss next Tuesday at 2, I'll do that. Meanwhile, have a great week, and I hope all your dreams come true. And any questions, concerns, or comments about anything and everything real estate in Brooklyn, I'm your gal. Text, email, call, just give me a holler, and it'll be my pleasure to help or advise you.